Talk Bomb.
Book Club Shmook Club is brought to you by TalkBomb.com. It's a book review show where Kristen and her brother Will Rogers 2000 talk about books and whatever else they want. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you typically get your podcasts. Welcome to Book Club Shmook Club. I'm Kristen.
I'm William.
And we're here to talk to you today about the book Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty.
Yes, we are.
But we're here to talk to you about something else, too.
Yeah, real quick.
It's book-related.
It is book-related.
And it's specifically Book Club Shmook Club related because there's been some real library fever going on in the Book Club Shmook Club Facebook group.
That's right. You heard it here first. Library fever and Book Club Shmook Club's got it. So hit up Facebook, look for the Book Club Shmook Club group to get the illness. Request to join if you're not a member.
Oh, God.
So what was it? Maybe this is like a scoop. This is something that you can actually tip people off because you got a sublime service, basically.
Yeah. So I joined the library in Princeton, which is where I work, because it's like a really sweet modern library. And Mary had tipped me off, who is one of our listeners who's in the Facebook group. And I'd heard about it from other people too, but you can get a lot of digital services if you join your library for free. So there's this service called Hoopla that you can get audiobooks, movies, and TV shows through. And I listen to stuff on Audible all the time. And also through most libraries, it's not through Hoopla, but they also usually have some sort of system where you can basically rent library books. What?
Oh, keep going. I'm going to try to do something secretive here.
Why are you using my phone? Oh, I don't have the app.
No. I was going to look at. I want to read our podcast reviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why do you have to use my phone to do that?
Because I can't look at the podcast app on my phone.
What? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Will just picked up my phone and started flipping around.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do fucking crazy shit.
I know. I just didn't understand why you were using mine instead of yours. Anyway. So you can also through a library usually like rent ebooks for free. And it's cool and weird. I haven't done it yet because I just got the card, but you literally, it's like lending it out. So you can just rent it for a few weeks and you have to return it, quote unquote. So anyway, I wanted to get a piece of that action. And so we do in the Facebook group kind of a weekly thing where I'm like, hey guys, what are you into this week? Let's all talk about things that we like and then, recommendations and stuff. And I said that I was really stoked that I got a library card. And then we all started talking libraries in there.
Yeah. So then I wanted to get in on the service, but I didn't want to have to pay a single red cent for it. I'm a red-blooded American.
Yeah, I should say. So the library for the town that Will and I live in, I was aware did not have the Hoopla service and had some sort of weird, like old, not good looking service for ebooks. So I decided to pony up that even though I'm not a Princeton resident, because I work there, I was able to pay a yearly fee to get a library card.
Yeah. So the town we live in, it's a small town, small town America.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it is kind of hip.
Yeah.
It's a bit jiggy. Mm-hmm. So I would expect maybe our library to also be a bit jiggy. Not so.
Yeah, I knew that. I don't know why you...
The library is stuffy. It is old. It is a gold and moldy.
Yeah.
The website looks
Gold
like it's
moldy.
It looks like it's from the 90s.
Yeah.
But even still, I looked up on Hoopla to see if the Highland Park Library was supported, and it said it was. So I figured Kristen was a fool. I thought I had her number, so I was going to sign up for free.
As if I wouldn't check this all out myself before deciding to pay $50.
Oh, I thought she was a dummy and a fool, and turns out I was looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
I walked into the library, which is no small feat. I don't like to go places or talk to people. So I walked in and signed up for a library card. Mm-hmm. And then I was trying to sign up, and it was not working. Why? So Kristen came over tonight. We were just about to record. This is literally minutes ago.
Yep.
And I decided to call the library and figure out just what the heck was going on. So I called the Highland Park Library. They say, yes, they are a member of Hoopla.
Somebody very helpful.
Incredibly helpful. Mm-hmm. Young.
Chipper.
Effervescent. Eager to help, I would say.
Totally.
It was not working. And then the bombshell. They go, did you mean to call Indiana? And I went, or Illinois? And I went, No, I'm just across town in New Jersey. And she's like, no, I know. I'm saying I'm in Illinois. It's like, oh, right. Like, what person would say, like, oh, you called a coffee shop in New Jersey. Did you mean to call Ohio?
Right. When she said that and you said that, I was looking at you like, what?
Oh, I'm a little bit of an alien, so I didn't pick up on it right away. So, no. Then I called the real library, the New Jersey one, got somebody who was much less helpful, which is exactly what I was expecting.
I was very surprised because I could hear through the phone the other person talking, and I was like, whoa, the person at the Highland Park Library seems like really friendly and helpful. Yeah. Maybe I made a misstep.
Right. So I asked if they were a member of Hoopla, and they said that they were working on it. They were real close, but could they connect with me with somebody who could give me a definitive answer? I said, yes, I will hold. And then somebody incredibly unhelpful answered the phone.
It was so
awesome. Sounded angry.
I would say confrontational.
Oh, absolutely. I said, hi, I was wondering if you could give me some information. I hear that you may be signing up with Hoopla, this thing you can use to digitally rent stuff. And she goes, who told you that?
It was awesome.
As if there was like some espionage going on. Like, where'd you hear this? What?
Also, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I don't know. And I went, the person I was just on the phone with. And she went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. That's something. Nice all of a sudden. She was like, that's something that we're working on. I think we might do.
It sounded like bullshit to me.
And I was like, okay. And then I figured I'd tip the scales a little bit.
And I was cracking up, by the way. So we were in a funny place. Like, Will was like kind of like holding the phone away because he was laughing because it was all so weird and ridiculous.
I asked if she could tell me when they were going to make up their mind. When they were going to...
a dumb question.
When they were going to do this.
She was obviously full of shit. And you're like, oh, okay, so when are you going to make up your mind about your fake decision?
Well, yeah, don't be full of shit with me then. I knew she was full of shit. I was trying to see how far I could push it. If she was going to be like, oh, I lied. Instead, Instead, she said...
We know what we're working with here.
Instead, she said that there was going to be a town hall meeting on the third Monday of the week. Probably not the week, huh?
Maybe not.
Of the month. And that didn't seem right to me, where it's just like, oh, coincidentally, it's a few weeks away. Like, that's definitely bullshit, right?
Well,
they're going to have a board meeting to do this? This isn't...
Well, I guess if they're... I really don't know. I actually didn't hear her say that part.
Oh, she said that.
Yeah.
And I was literally considering saying, like, are civilians allowed to attend? I was going to ask, but I didn't. Oh, instead, I said this, which I thought was reasonable until you pointed out that it was dumb. I said, if this contributes in any way, I would just like to say that I'm a patron of the library, and this is a service that I would greatly enjoy having associated with my library card. So if you take things like that into consideration, which I don't see why that's a problem.
No, it's not. It was just who you were talking. She already seemed unreceptive.
I don't think she was listening to me. She was
that's
like,
what I'm saying. So when you were doing that, I was like, all right.
And then she says, okay, well, when I pass this message on, do you want me to give your name? And I prefer to remain anonymous.
It was so good.
And she went, okay. we hung up the call.
Remain anonymous about wanting Hoopla, an audiobook service. It was so funny.
Librarian Johnson, who is your source for this request?
She was all about sources, obviously.
My source prefers to remain anonymous, counselor. An anonymous source, eh? Likely.
Oh, God.
Needless to say, I think I'll be dropping the 50 bones to get Hoopla through Princeton. Cause,
I think that's why.
Yeah. Holy moly.
It'll pay for itself with, like, 3 audiobooks.
It could have really paid for itself with 0 audiobooks.
Totally.
So I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I prefer to remain anonymous. Okay. Next order of business of the Book Club Shmook Club meeting.
Yes.
Reviews.
Oh, yay.
iTunes reviews.
Mm-hmm. This is why you were going through my phone.
That is exactly right. We have a few that I would like to get on the record.
Yay.
Okay. In the Book Club Shmook Club group, Kristen sent out a call. We need reviews.
Yes, please.
We
really do.
And we still do.
Yeah,
we're at 15 reviews.
But thank you so much to you guys who did that when I asked. That was really nice.
And so these need to be entered into the notes for the Book Club Shmook Club meeting.
Mm-hmm. In the ledger.
This first one is entitled Hangout with Hilarious Literary Sibling Friends.
Yeah, by Bean and Dad.
By Bean and Dad.
That's when I saw that. I was like, what the fuck?
Fantastic.
Who is this?
It's fantastic.
And it was our pal Jillian.
All right, everybody, take a note. This is how it goes. This review is long overdue. In fact, writing it has been on my to-do list for about 6 months. I love this podcast. Siblings Kristen and William have such fun banter, and I always enjoy hearing their thoughts on both books I've read and books I haven't read. And in between book club episodes, they don't leave you hanging. They have an episode where they just shoot the breeze on hilarious observations, which I also enjoy. My favorite thing about listening to Book Club Shmook Club is that it feels like hanging out with friends because Kristen and William are so warm, open, and genuine, and they really seem to enjoy connecting with their listeners on a personal level through Facebook. The private group is awesome. Just ask to join. Instagram, etc. I don't do Twitter, but I know they're all up in that too.
You better believe it.
She's right. They share about frivolous topics and important ones. Great Harry Potter content too. Go back and check it out if you're an HP fan. Overall, I'm so glad that Kristen and William chose this medium to share their creativity and humor because I sure love it. Oh yeah, they both also love some creepy/horror-y stuff I'm not into, but they let me know when an episode will be a bit too much for my taste or not. And they'll go back and find me specific archived episodes if I ask real nice. Thanks, William and Kristen. Keep it up.
Thank you, Jillian. That was fucking awesome.
That is very nice. And I really want to give a shout out and just say that I appreciate that you're called Bean and Dad on iTunes for some reason. I don't know why.
She seemed like she barely remembered why. She was like, I guess my dad and I left a review on something.
Evidently, I'm called Bean and Dad on here.
Awesome.
So that's one.
Okay, great. So here is another one. So this is so the weird thing about the app for podcasts is it doesn't show you the full title of the review if it's too long. So the title of this is Going Beyond the Books You Love with two with two very dumb people. And this is from Mike Costa. So thank you so much, Mike. This was so nice. Listening to Will and Kristen discuss books is a pleasure. Their show is unpretentious, sincere, and frequently hilarious. As hosts, they like to dig deep, but they never give the impression of taking the book, or themselves, too seriously, which makes the show very approachable and relatable. I find myself enjoying when they tear apart a book they dislike almost as much as the ones they can't get enough of, though I should say in both cases, it's always done with respect to the author. A credit to their hosting abilities, they're good at making the podcast feel very much like you're part of the conversation as it's happening. They've also organized a considerable online community to take the book conversations beyond the podcast itself. Podcast. I highly recommend Book Club Shmook Club as a great way to prolong your enjoyment of the books you love once you've closed the cover with the help of two very funny people. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
That was so nice.
Friend in real life, friend of the shows. Thank you, Mike. That's very nice of you.
And then also, I also really, really love this review. It's short and sweet. It doesn't have to be a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I was just so thrilled that she made the effort to do it. Seriously, because I know it's kind of a pain in the ass. I mean to leave reviews for podcasts all the time, and I don't do it.
That's true.
So I really appreciate just the effort. I don't give a shit what people write. It just is very nice to me that people would go to do it.
I agree. I've been trying to go out of my way to write reviews of things when I like them. You're more likely to complain about something.
Yes.
That sticks in your memory more when you dislike something more than when you like something and you go out of your way to do that. I've been trying to do it more personally, and I really appreciate it when people do that for our stuff.
I do too. So yeah, Beth just kept it super simple, and she said, great podcast, keen observations, marvelous rapport. Love the word rapport.
Love the word rapport.
Love a silent T.
Yeah.
So seriously, thank you, Beth, and thank you to everybody. We really, really appreciate it. And if those inspired you, please write some more, because we would really like to get some more listeners, and that plays a super crucial role, apparently.
Yeah.
So please, please, please.
No joke.
Literal begging.
Yeah, also, the world is getting increasingly intense lately, but I like Book Club Shmook Club. It keeps me sane a little bit. It's a little sanctuary. It's a little good time.
Yeah.
Clubhouse. So these things keep me feeling positive and happy. And
totally.
Sometimes it's nice to just share the things that you like.
Yeah.
Positive vibes.
Absolutely.
I like it.
So yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
So Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies.
All right. So what should we do here?
I want to know. Yeah, I do want to know your history, actually, because you mentioned that you had read this before, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a reason that we're getting around to it now,
right?
So I want to hear about that, and as well as what your thoughts were going into this a second time.
Okay. So I don't remember why I read it the first time. I listened to the audiobook. I guess I had just heard about her book. She has a bunch of they're not connected, but she has a bunch of different fun mystery books, and they're really popular. So I guess she was just a bestseller.
I read online that her previous book was called The Husband's Secret.
It is. I read that one too.
Sounds
I know
steamy.
It's not.
I went to a Kmart that was closing.
Is that your secret?
Yeah. I went alone.
Allie, don't listen.
Don't listen, Al. I wandered the halls of Kmart on my own. And their book section was ravaged, except for the romance novels.
Ooh.
And I literally almost considered being like, these must be a steal. I'm just going to get like a shitload of steamy romance novels and then like take a picture and be like, guys, they're closing Kmart. Look at what I got. Just
Bunch of
people be
bodice
like,
rippers.
the hell is that? Like the rose's last petal? What?
Ooh, good
What's
one.
in
Did
your
you pull
cart?
that out of your ass?
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. What was our book last time?
Our book? Oh,
What did we
All
come-
the Way Home.
All the way home.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Oh God. So I read it before just because I guess I had heard about it or something, and I remember liking it. So I was fine. Well, obviously I suggested it. I was fine rereading. I was looking forward to rereading it, and the thing that prompted me to want to reread it is that there's an HBO miniseries based on the book coming out next week. So it comes out on the 17th, I believe it is, or
Gotcha.
18th.
Cool.
Check your local listings. But it's produced by Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman, who also star in it. And it's real star-studded. So it's them, Shailene Woodley, Adam Scott, Alexander Skarsgård, Zoe Kravitz, Laura Dern, like a bunch of good people.
Yeah.
So I'm personally just super excited for the miniseries because it looks great. So I was like, oh, well, why don't we reread the book on the show?
Cool.
In case other people are going to watch it, then it gives them, I don't know. I love doing things where like there's a movie either out or coming out or TV show or whatever, because I think it's fun to like
To look at the
to
two.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't know about this book, obviously, at all. I only knew what Kristen had told me about it, but it seemed interesting. I'll say this. Last time when you read the Amazon plot synopsis, it meant it's like, this is what happens in a small town when a death takes place or when a murder takes place. And then the entire rest of the description was talking about the three main characters of it.
Yeah.
And I would have thought if the point of the book is like, okay, this murder shakes up this suburbanite lifestyle, the murder would come up again, right? That's the thing that's like looming over all of this, right? Like you can tell me that it's about Madeline, Celeste, and Jane.
Yeah.
But really what it's about is how those people are embroiled in this like murder scandal thing. And the plot synopsis mentioned it once at the top and never again. So I was worried that going into this, it would be a minuscule part off to the side. And it's not. It is, well, I mean,
It kind of is.
it's kind of not what the book is about.
Yeah.
But at the same rate, it is kind of what I was just describing. I thought the plot synopsis would do. It hangs over the entire proceedings. It's always in your mind.
There are little interjections of them talking to people about the murder, but it keeps really obtuse, but you know that is coming, basically.
Yes, exactly.
So what did you think of it before I go into my spoiler-free summary?
Right. It is a mystery book, so spoiler-free is the way to be for now.
Yep. Spoiler-free's for me.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it fine, I will say.
Sure.
It did not blow my hair back. It didn't blow my pants off.
Blow your skirt up.
I do wear a skirt.
Your kilt up.
I wear a skirt, a kilt, and pants all at once. It got the skirt, but not the kilt or the pants. So that's a third of the way there.
All right, that's not bad.
I
Not the
enjoyed
strongest
it.
breeze.
I enjoyed it just fine.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of, I want to say mystery books. I wouldn't even really call this a mystery
It's
book.
not really. Yeah.
It's not. If you're a fan of mystery books and you're looking for something that has sort of a different flavor from just the typical sort of proceedings of like a murder is taking place, look at how it's affecting our lives.
Yeah.
This one's very interesting. It's a different take on a mystery. So I would recommend it, but I would not go into it thinking that you're going to get really sort of like grim mystery feel.
No, it's
at
not
all.
like you're not. There aren't clues for you to puzzle together.
No.
You know, there's a murder that happens, but it's not whodunity or anything like that.
It's about these people's lives.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And when you recalibrate for that, I would say that it's very interesting. It's a very interesting look at the way that people's lives can be affected by Boy, anything I say, I don't want to completely give it away.
Well, you know what? Then I think that's my cue.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I take it you recommend it as well.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. So then, from here on out, if you're afraid of spoilers for this book, jump out.
No. I'm spoiler free.
Oh, the spoiler free. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead
Stick
of myself.
around, people. Come back.
All right.
Okay. Here we go. Big Little Lies is a story of parental politics and the arena of death that they take place in. Kindergarten class.
Oh.
There's a lot of little kid and school stuff that affects the relationships of the adults, but they have their own shit going on too. Set on Purewee Peninsula in Australia, Madeline's daughter is gravitating more and more toward her ex-husband and his new wife, which chaps her ass. Jane is a young single mother who just moved into town with some baggage, and I ain't just talking U-Haul. And Celeste's perfect marriage is a lot less perfect than it seems. Sure, sometimes the kindy mums don't get along, but did anyone expect that the school trivia night would end in murder?
Oh.
So that's my spoiler-free summary.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now jump out.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, everybody, clear out. Okay.
Oh, we have one last straggler. All right. Go ahead. Get out of here.
Okay. Bye.
I know. We'll talk to you later.
Close it. Okay, they're gone.
All right.
Um,
Do you hate stuff like that? I said that expecting the look on your face to be like, I don't want to do this.
in a corny way. No,
Okay.
it was fine.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. Guys, did anyone expect that the school trivia night would end in murder? Well, it does. Celeste's husband Perry is a complete piece of shit who's been physically abusing her for years, and it also turns out that he's involved in that baggage Jane's been toting around. She had a one-night stand years ago, resulting in the birth of her son, and the guy was super abusive, sadistic, and cruel. Turns out that guy was Perry. This motherfucker. At the school's drunky drunk trivia night for parents, all the drama comes to a head when out on the balcony, Jane meets Perry and sees he's her one-night stand. Celeste rightly gives him shit about it, and he backhands her in front of everyone, sending her flying. Everyone is shocked, and Madeline's ex-husband's wife, Bonnie, who's usually a mega chill hippie, is fucking furious. "You've done this before," she screams, and when he denies it, she pushes him, and he slips, falling from the balcony and eating total shit. There are a bunch of people around, and most of them agree that they didn't see anything, all horrified by Perry's behavior and recognizing that it wasn't a one-time incident. But Bonnie ends up confessing anyway. She gets community service because of the fact that she obviously didn't intend to kill him, the slippery balcony, this is a book, etc. The ending is satisfying. Celeste becomes an advocate for people in abusive relationships. Jane, who had been closed for business in all the years since her encounter with Perry, is dating the local coffee man, Tom. And Madeline comes to accept that even if she's mad at her ex and has knee-jerk resentment toward Bonnie, that they are family. This book has some cheesy moments, but I totally enjoyed it. I read it once before, and I was more than happy to spend more time in Purewee. It seems like a light read, but it's not totally. What was Celeste's storyline? But strikes a good balance, and the world building is great. I totally get a sense of this place and the people there. Good on ya, Liane Moriarty.
That was really good. That was a really good Australian accent.
Good on ya.
Good on ya.
Good on. You know what? I'm done.
I was practicing my Australian accent too because I listened to Kristen's copy on Audible, hashtag piracy. And and one of the kids in the book, I think it's just Ziggy, the kid that's accused of bullying.
Yeah.
He loves Star Wars. And at one point he goes, "I'm gonna get you, Darth Vader."
Yeah.
Darth Vader.
I'm pretty good at saying, have you been watching the Scientology show with Leah Remini at all?
No.
That's a story for another day. But anyway, a guy on it is Mike Rinder.
Oh, that sounded
Mike
good.
Rinder.
That sounded very good.
Thank you.
Mike Rinder.
Yeah, Mike Rinder.
It sounds their ERs go like not like British, but it's like
It's great. I love that accent.
I'm gonna get you, Darth Vader. I really
Darth Vader?
I like
That's
that
good.
a lot.
Yeah.
I wish that there was like a big I wish they dubbed
Yeah.
English speaking movies with different dialects.
That'd be great.
So that I could watch the Australian cut of Star Wars now.
Oh,
Be like,
yeah.
we got to stop Darth Vader. Like, oh. Yes,
It
we
would
do.
sound more fun.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
So this book had a weird mix, I thought. Not weird in a bad way, weird in that unexpected, I didn't see it coming way of real life
Yes.
horrific events that happen
Jarring.
to people.
Yeah.
And
I remember when I read it first, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming.
Yes. and sort of fantastical versions of horrible events happening to people. So I'm going to give the crazy version let me give like the horrible version first.
Okay.
Celeste's husband, Perry, is straight up a rapist. He 5 years ago had what was going to be a one-night stand with one of the other protagonists, Jane. And instead, when they were going to have sex, he'd been like flirting with her all night. He'd been very charming all night. He had given a fake name. Find out later.
Do you picture him at all in your head?
I pictured him I pictured him very Don Drapery.
I could see that.
John Hamm.
That's pretty good, actually. I could see that. I picture him looking like Annalise's husband on How to Get Away with Murder. I know you don't watch
perfect.
that.
Thank you.
But other people listening,
I know they do.
Anyway,
I know,
might
but
know. But that's what I picture with Perry.
I just don't go into sentences expecting that I won't know what the hell is going on.
Well, that's on you. How to Get Away with Murder is great.
I know. I've heard everything is great.
Yeah, I know. I have the same problem.
There's too much great stuff, so I watch none of it.
I agree.
Fuck it. I'm putting on Leatherface again.
I know. We talked about it. I understand.
Okay, so he had given a fake name. They were going to have sex.
It was his cousin's name.
They were actually like just about to have sex. She asked him if he had a condom.
Condom.
Is that how they said?
Yeah, I couldn't understand what they said at first. I was like, what?
Corn dog?
And it comes up a couple times. It's like condom.
They love to barbecue.
Yeah.
Do you barbecue corn dogs? Do you?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Somebody out there?
Yeah.
Hit us up on Twitter?
Yeah.
She asked him if he had a condom, and he kind of dodged the question. And then he tried to choke her. He tried to get her into choking. She said no. And he just, bam, starts choking her and just, he rapes her. And she, later on in the story, tries to explain it as being like, well, no, it was consensual because we were there to have sex. And no one ever really, I think somebody like once they go like, it's not your fault. No, it was not consensual. But I felt like they kind of didn't underline it super duper.
They didn't. That's part of why I didn't say it in the summary, is because it's so like gray area-ish kind of, but not really in the book.
I don't feel like it's gray area at
I don't feel
all.
like it's gray
I feel
area
like that is rape.
in my life or like personally, but in the book,
the way the characters treat it, the way the characters treat it is they're not sure what to make of it, especially the victim, which is true to life.
Totally. And it's probably just because she was so beaten down by it, because the other part that's extra, well, it's also fucked up, not extra fucked, well, kind of, whatever. He just starts whispering all these things in her ear about she's like a disgusting little girl and she's a fat little pig and her breath is horrible. Just like every like demeaning thing you could say to a person to make them insecure, he says to her.
Yes.
So it's like I remember being like, oh my God, what the fuck?
I was shocked that was.
There's some shocking things in this book.
100% agree.
Yeah.
So I just want to get this stuff out of the way because I think that it's important to not shy away from in talking about this book, because I think the book is very specifically. I wonder if it really is sort of supposed to pull you in and make you think that you are reading this like sort of like kind of fluffy mystery.
I don't know,
because they really it starts with them. They play with time, basically. It starts with them talking about how there was a kerfuffle at the school trivia night for the parents. And that it was a themed trivia night. So all of the women are dressed like Audrey Hepburn. All the men are dressed like Elvis Presley. And they're fighting. Oh, and you wouldn't expect a murder to have occurred.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, that, you know, not that I've seen that a million places, that exact thing. But that feels like a very... not obvious, very comfortably familiar mystery setup.
Yeah.
There's a murder that's going to occur. And now we flash back and learn all these events about the people and how they ended up at that trivia night. And so along the way, we're constantly reevaluating, going like, oh my God, we don't know who got murdered. We know that the book follows the perspectives of 3 different women. I assumed one of them gets murdered, which I think that most of the audience is supposed to assume. And so then when there's this turn where you're like, oh my God, actually these things are horrible. There are truly like terrible.
Sorry, I'm behind. You're absolutely right. That's what you're supposed to assume, because none of them. So how they kind of intersperse the murder thing throughout the book is that they'll switch to a chapter where it's somebody who seems like they're being questioned by somebody about that night.
Right.
And it's never one of the three leads. You're right. So you're totally supposed to think that maybe it's one of them.
Yeah. To the point that as the book got closer and closer to the conclusion, and I knew, they start saying like one day before trivia night. And then the events play out. You're supposed to be getting increasingly anxious. And I was to the point that it felt like a game of hot potato where it was like with like 3 hours until the trivia night, there would be a chapter from Jane's perspective. And I'd be like, oh, fuck, it's her. She's going to get killed. We're right at trivia night.
Yeah.
And then her chapter would be over and we're on Celeste. And I'd be like, oh my God, it's her. We're so close to trivia night. And they would cut and we're on Madeline. And it's like, oh my God.
It's
so
Madeline.
Madeline, sorry. It has to be her then back to Celeste, then back to Madeline, then back to Jane. And bouncing back and forth and forth and forth from perspective. I didn't think that someone was going to get killed off screen. So whoever we were with at the time the trivia night happened, I thought that was going to be the victim. And that's not what happens.
Right.
But that sort of tension, that buildup was real.
Totally.
It was very well done. I said that I don't recommend this if you're just a fan of a mystery book, but this does have its own flavor. This got me more sort of invested and worked up than the typical average murder mystery does.
Because there's a countdown clock going.
Yeah, exactly. There's something at stake and it's happening soon. You don't know when soon is.
Right.
But you can feel it. It's coming.
Right.
So the other reason that I want to get the like really like heavy stuff on the table now is because I think that it's important in discussing the book, because I think that the other thing the author was very deliberately trying to do, to varying degrees of success, I would argue, is that this book ends with Celeste, who is the wife of Perry, the rapist, is it just abuser? Would that be the term for it?
I guess so. Abusive husband? I don't know.
The abusive husband. She writes and says this could happen to anyone. And that is true. And there's unfortunately these events, or events very similar to this, happen frequently. And so I think that this book is intended as a message to say like, hey, not everything is light and fluffy.
Yeah.
This happens, and you don't always see it coming. And you can't tell if somebody that you love is going through it necessarily, because people get very good at coping or hiding or making excuses for things that you would think seem obvious. Like, oh, you're being abused? I didn't see any bruises. I didn't see anything. Well, people are too good at hiding it. So I feel like that's what the book is specifically about. But I would also argue that I don't know that there's some things about this story that are so larger than life that I almost feel like it doesn't undercut the message. The message is clear. These things happen. Get it in your head. Be aware of these things. But at a certain point, like towards the end, where it's becoming clear that Jane had been talking about how she had been raped by, what was the fake name?
Saxon Banks.
Saxon Banks. It was an insane name.
Totally.
It's like, sounds like a fake name.
It's like,
but
you don't say.
Yeah.
One Night Stand gave you that name?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure that's his name.
So she opens up and shares her story with her other friend, Madeline. And then Madeline, on her own time, decides to Google Saxon Banks, finds his Facebook page, sees who he is, and then realizes, whoa, Saxon Banks is the cousin of Celeste's husband, Perry.
Yeah.
And because we know from the Celeste chapters that Perry is abusive towards his wife, we're like, holy fuck, this family is just filled with monsters. Yeah. And then we find out later, the entire, the thing that kicks the book off is that Jane had just moved to town with her son, Ziggy. And Ziggy is accused of bullying a girl in his kindergarten class. And essentially, the majority of the book is about this. Is it true? Is Ziggy really bullying her? And then
I would say the majority of the book is about that.
Absolutely.
No.
The A plot, the thing that the book is ostensibly about, is this bullying incident and the way that it affects these women in this community.
I disagree.
I totally think that that's what it's about. They become friends through it. That's the thing that connects everybody.
They keep going back to it, but I wouldn't say it's the A plot.
I felt like that was the thing that I was continually trying to figure out.
The Celeste storyline is, even though
the Celeste storyline becomes the A plot when you realize what's going on with her. But I
think the book spends the bulk of the time with her. Not like by a huge margin, but that's how I feel.
Maybe once that storyline gets underway, it becomes the focal point. But for sure, for the beginning,
we follow her she decides to get an apartment so that she has a place to go to when she finally leaves him. You go with her to the
yes, but that doesn't happen
like a counselor and things like that.
I feel like that happens like halfway through.
Yeah, but still, there's still a lot of time paid to it.
I agree, but it doesn't mean that the first half of the book isn't solidly there.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah. Pardon the interruption. Book Club Shmook Club has no sponsors, so instead we rely on our listeners and patrons. If you enjoy the show, please consider going to patreon.com/talkbomb to help us cover our hosting fees and book fees, and to get dozens of Patreon exclusive shows as a thank you. Please also consider leaving us a review on iTunes or Stitcher to brighten our day and maintain our show's reputation. If you like Book Club Shmook Club, the best thing you can do for us is to share the show with a friend. If you like this podcast, there's a good chance your friends will too. No matter what, we just hope you enjoy the show, though, so let's get back into it.
So, the son Ziggy is accused of bullying, and then all the parents of the class sort of have this big falling out. The mother of the daughter who's getting bullied is really like in the kid's face, yells at him and shit.
Renata.
So Jane, the mom of Ziggy, is essentially immediately ostracized from this community and viewed as like a bad parent. She's young.
Yeah, she's only 24.
Right. And then we start to learn that Ziggy is the child of her rape. And so she starts to worry, like, oh my God, well, my son's father was a fucking abusive like nightmare. He had choked her, and then it comes out that one of the things that the bully, whoever the bully is in class, did was choke the girl who was getting bullied, and she's like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
like it's the same thing.
Yeah,
like is it just in his blood? He seems like such a nice kid. She talks to him, she asks him if he did it, and he always just goes like, I don't want to talk about it, and they move on. So here was my thing. At a certain point, when it was clear that Ziggy was the son of Saxon Banks. Saxon Banks is a rapist and is the cousin of Perry, who is abusive towards his wife. I got a little bit not disappointed, not frustrated. Those words are too big. Just sort of like, oh, we're going to tie all of this back to one family tree. I felt like that was a little... It would feel more realistic to me to say like, hey, like this happens. And it doesn't mean that like, it can't always be localized to one place. Like sometimes these things happen like passively, even if the person seems like they're outwardly just like a good person. And then it got even worse when we find out that Perry had been giving a fake name. He told Jane that he was Saxon Banks, and he is the guy that raped her. He is Ziggy's dad. It's his son who is the actual bully in class because he had seen his father beating his mother. And so I'm like, oh, so this is not all just even localized to one family, which I thought was too much. All of these threads, all of these like big storylines that are real things about sort of living your life are all connected to one guy. We have a big villain in this. We have we have like Bowser. We have like, seriously, we have
a hell of a Bowser though.
He is a big, yeah. I guess, yeah, Bowser didn't do any of that. I'm sorry, Bowser. I'm Nintendo. Looking forward to that Nintendo Switch coming soon. Huh?
Oh, hey.
Yeah. I did find it to be disappointing that we've got like our Voldemort. It's like, if we got this guy, everything else it's all embodied in this one man. I thought that was disappointing.
I see your point, but I actually think that's great that it ended up being their son, because it kind of like speaks to and ties into the whole thing with Celeste thinking it was just isolated to her,
Right.
and she's just taking it and it's not rippling out. Somebody asked, the counselor that she goes to see at one point asks her how it affects her kids, and she's like, it doesn't.
Right.
What are you talking about? It only happens to me and they never see it. And I think it made the point that like that kind of abuse has a ripple effect whether you realize it or not.
That I completely agree with you. I agree that it makes 100% logical sense that her son is the bully in that class. The thing that I disagree with is that almost everybody who's got a problem in this book, it's all because of Perry. Forget his son Max, who I feel like that is a very logical extension of like, oh my God, all right, the abusive life you live that you that you don't acknowledge and that you apologize for but never really try to fix, and even for Celeste as the wife that sort of takes the brunt of it but doesn't stop it. That doesn't mean that she is to blame for the kids seeing it, but it all contributes. That's the home life that they brought up. And I felt like that was very realistic. I thought that made a ton of sense. And I liked, liked is not the right word either.
Yeah.
But I thought that was the correct logical way for the story to progress in that sense. Perry being the guy.
I see your point. Yeah.
That I felt like was just too much.
I think it makes it easier for him to be the one who's murdered and you feel fine about that there was a murder at the end of the book.
Right.
Because if it was so for the murder to be at the end of the book rather than the beginning, like, how are you going to tie that up and make it feel justified and okay at the end of the book? There's no time to do that. So it better be somebody who you're happy to see go.
I would rather, but I also don't agree with that. I don't think that this book is about, at its core, things being tidy or easy. I think this book is about being fucking messy.
Right, but how would you satisfyingly end it for the reader?
I don't know, but that's also not I'll tell you this. I would have been more satisfied as the reader if it weren't so tidily cleaned up at the end. Everybody is there's a very sort of like happily ever after kind of thing that happens. Perry was very wealthy, rich to the point that Celeste did these sort of like passive aggressive things to hurt him, kind of, where she would just be home alone and just donate $200,000 to something.
Yeah.
And just buy something for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he would just sort of go like, went on a little spending spree, huh?
Yeah.
And his death means that his children are completely taken care of for the rest of their lives, including Ziggy, who Celeste sets up a trust fund
or something.
For after all this. And I don't know. I think that it was incorrect for the book that was being written to say, okay, this man dying is the thing that we all wanted. I don't think that his death solves anything. I think that having his death actually solve people's problems is not right. I don't think that that's really... I mean, I can't speak... I've never been in these situations.
The only problem it solved was Celeste being abused. It's not like Jane was hard up for money, so him dying and giving them the money solved a problem for her.
I guess. I don't know. I would have appreciated some more conflict or conflicting feelings. They when at the end of the book they jump ahead a year when it's I'm sorry, there are so many characters in this book, I don't want to make it too complicated. The woman that murders Perry at the end, which I mean murders is not the right word. She pushes him and they're on a balcony and
so he falls.
That's what happens. They were going to cover it up. They were all agreed they were going to cover this thing up. They weren't going to tell the police what actually happened. There was actual like plausible deniability. There was a big like scuffle going on in the trivia night.
So people could have been distracted, not actually seen what happened when he fell.
Exactly. So they were all going to cover it up. But Bonnie, the woman who pushed him, decided that she had to confess. And then we jump ahead a year during like her trial, or just after her trial?
After, yeah.
And there's like a reporter that's interviewing everybody in town.
Yeah, so that's what the interjecting chapters were, which you didn't know until that. I kind of assumed that they were people being interviewed by the police, but it was by a journalist.
Right. So we're seeing all these people a year after. I think it would have been a bit more realistic to spend. I would have appreciated more time there than what we got, because I think that I think it's really a difficult thing to live with, to be like, okay, and now my son Ziggy is set for life because his father, who was my rapist, was killed a year ago. All these things are very complicated. Instead, it's very much like, I'm in love again. I'm allowing myself to love again. And I'm not saying that that doesn't deserve to be there, and I'm not saying that these people don't deserve a happy ending. I'm saying that all of these issues are very sort of real, and they, I feel, deserve a more serious isn't the right word. I'm struggling. My vocabulary doesn't actually apply to this book very well, because I think that the things I feel about this book are not as simple as like I liked it or I didn't like it. It's a lot more gray. I feel like the book is more gray than it appears to be, and that's the point.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be kind of like a fun mystery.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be like the suburban life, this kind of like grown-up Mean Girls thing. Now it's all the parents who have this like infighting going on.
Right.
And then it becomes this like, no, we're talking about things like rape and spouse abuse and what it means to like live in the aftermath of these things. But the way the book ends is, I felt, with a somewhat hunky-dory, that worked out well, feeling. And I don't think that that's the appropriate ending.
Because everything else was so real that the ending tied it together too nicely.
Yes. And it's not a complaint that undoes anything. I enjoyed the book and I would happily recommend it. I just feel like I was ready for something a bit more serious. I think the topics that were brought up deserve to still be in play.
But there was also so much lightness to the book.
Yeah, that can still be there. I feel like part of the book is that these things exist.
Could be if everything was kind of like still gray and like, well, we're not okay. Like it wouldn't match tonally, really, to me, as like a whole.
Well, I would say that I think that life is a good mix. This is like such a dorky thing to say. Life is a good mix of things that are like really dark and difficult and fun. Like everything that you and I went through last year was a nightmare.
Was fun. Oh, a nightmare.
Oh,
right.
See, there you go. Yin and yang. Was a nightmare, and I remember laughing a lot during it, and not just when I was being manic. But I think that there is a way for it to be both. This is
probably
a difficult thing, especially with the year jump. If we were still staying like just in the aftermath of his death, if we were talking about Celeste setting up a trust fund and how's she going to do that, and the conversation that she's having, and them coming to terms and getting these things out in the open, their feelings about Perry, that would be one thing. I think that would be very difficult to end the book there.
Yeah.
And have there be a culmination of these events that leaves you not feeling just destroyed, which I don't think the book is about destroying. I think the book is about acknowledging horrible things and being like, well, it's part of the human experience. But I think that jumping a year forward gives everybody an opportunity to have gone through some of the acceptance phase of this like insane series of tragedies and get to a point where they personally acknowledge that it was complicated and difficult and horrible, but hey, you know what, we're moving on. But I felt like the year jump was to just go like, hey, and they moved on.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because I think the only person who got like a really wrapped up happy ending in a way was Jane. Celeste, in her story, acknowledges that she still thinks about Perry and misses him. She was thinking about advice that Perry had given her on him doing like public speaking when she was speaking in front of some like crowd of people about like abuse or whatever. And she talked about how the boys are having a really hard time adjusting to him dying because they were so used to him traveling all the time and everything. They haven't really grasped the fact that him being gone and dead means he's never coming back. So they're having a really hard time coping. And then Madeline's sum up story is also like, it's pretty good, but she's like, yeah, I still think my husband is, or my ex-husband is a dick and his wife annoys me, but I guess I have to, it's like a begrudging happiness. She's like, I have to accept that they are my family, even if I think he's an asshole for leaving me. Yeah. So I find that their stories both are gray.
Okay.
Jane's is the only one to me that's like, well, it all ended up working out.
Yeah, I'm dating Tom.
Yeah.
And Ziggy's happy. He's got a trust fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess you're right. Madeline's, I didn't really feel.
It's not that big. Madeline's not that big a deal. It doesn't have a whole lot of emotional weight to it.
I was surprised that she wasn't that big a player by the end of this thing.
I know, she starts out as the main character,
Yeah.
but then she she still kind of is. I feel like you see things from her point of view a lot. Or maybe it's because she has kind of like a stronger personality in a way. It's easier to pinpoint. So maybe, because I think Celeste was the bulk of it, and yet I find that Madeline's personality was kind of stronger. So she actually still felt like the lead to me.
I agree.
But she didn't have, her end story wasn't as dramatic.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think you're 100% right about Celeste.
Yeah.
I agree that her storyline, I think, with jumping a year forward, that is the tone. Where that I think that is the exact appropriate tone, but it should have been applied to all three of them somehow with all of their stories.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I totally forgot about that.
I guess only for Jane's because it doesn't even really apply for Madeline's, because her story is like, yeah, he's a pain in the ass, but it's like not that big.
Yeah,
a
that's
deal.
my point. Like, I felt like she was just fine.
She was. She was like kind of fine before the stuff with her daughter wanting to be with her ex-husband. I actually really felt all that when she was kind of talking about throughout the book about her sense of betrayal at Abigail wanting to be with her husband, because Madeline was married to Abigail's father, and then when Abigail was a baby, in the middle of the night, he was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, okay, whatever, because she thought he was just like, I'm going out or something, or he didn't really mean it, and he straight up just bounced.
Right.
And didn't give her like any child support or anything until their daughter Abigail was like 12 or something like that. And then he came back on the scene, and she had been a single mother and like worked her ass off and did all this stuff by herself. And when Madeline was 14, she wants to hang out with her dad all the time, and she wants to go live with her dad and like ugh. But even so, I mean, it sucked, but it wasn't like wrenching like Jane and Celeste's story. So her sum up was less.
I agree. And then once
dramatic.
you find out that Jane and Celeste's stories are,
They dovetail.
yeah, they're specifically tied together through Perry.
Yeah.
Madeline's story feels like the
Yeah.
outlier. It
Yeah.
just feels like it's like also happening, but okay.
Yeah, but like not that big a deal.
Yeah, there's like this weird storyline about her daughter,
Yeah, it's so
Abigail,
random.
setting up a website,
Yeah.
trying to sell her virginity.
Yeah.
But she's only
Which
14.
really happened. That was a thing.
That was a thing?
Yeah, I should have looked into it for this, but that was a thing that happened like a few years ago, I remember.
Huh, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. But that felt like weird and out of left field where I'm just
Totally.
like, why is this in this book?
I know.
I
don't
know that this is like largely about sort of the politics of trying to live your own life, and men sort of being like just fucking perpetually in the way.
Oh, well, Madeline's husband Ed is great.
Well, I thought they had an interesting conflict later on, though, too, where
Yeah.
they were all going to cover up for
Bonnie.
Christ, for Bonnie killing Perry, and he was not willing to lie.
Yeah.
I thought that was really,
Yeah.
that could have been something interesting. And then when Bonnie confesses on her own, he's like, okay, I was going to lie.
Yeah.
And Madeline
Yeah,
goes,
but
I know.
He was
And
in his
she-
car crying when
Right.
she called him, because he was like, oh, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and I think that is great.
Totally.
I think that that's interesting. I think, again, I think all these stories I would have a much better reaction to if they had not tied Jane's story to Celeste's.
Did you see that coming?
No.
I didn't either.
I really feel like that was a cartoon move.
I don't know. I think it works.
I don't know. Once
It
they
works for me.
reveal that Perry was...
It makes sense, and it makes sense then that I felt like it all worked together. Like she moved to Pierway because she remembered that he lived there. You
Yeah,
know
but
what I mean?
they say... Here's my problem with that kind of thing. They say that after the reveal that
Right.
Perry was Saxon Banks.
Right.
They go like once they're at the actual trivia night and Jane comes face to face with Perry and she goes, "You don't recognize me." I had this like, oh shit,
Yeah.
feeling. I had the intended feeling like, oh, I didn't see this coming.
Yeah.
But then right after that, it started to fall apart in my head, and then characters started saying stuff like, "Yes, that, by the way, is the reason I moved to town, as I thought he might live here because." The night that we were together, he was shopping for houses, and I saw this town name on a piece of paper.
But it makes it more plausible
And
that
it's
she
like-
would end up bumping into this guy.
It's like, oh, really?
But otherwise, it'd be completely implausible. Like, what the hell would the chances of that be?
and
that she
then,
just randomly moved to the town he lives in?
And then Celeste goes, "Oh wait, a memory is calling to me. Perry told me a story once that he was being mischievous, and the police asked him his name, and he said Saxon Banks. And then his cousin got in trouble for it instead of him."
I buy
It's
all
like-
this.
No, those are clues after the fact. Inadmissible. I feel like they are.
I disagree. I thought
Inadmissible as clues.
But they didn't want them to be clues.
I know they didn't, but they're treating them like okay, I have this
Like, oh, this all makes
outlandish
sense.
connection.
Yeah.
Now here's how I'm gonna try to sew it all together and make it seem like it was all there already. I don't feel like it was all there. I feel like it was.
It wasn't.
It feels.
It wasn't all there for them either.
No. I mean, not for us as the reader.
Yeah.
I feel like for her as the writer.
Right.
I feel like this wasn't, and this is something we can never know. This is an outlandish claim that I'm going to make. I feel like this is so out of left field that it's not even what the book was supposed to be, and that some editor was like, "You got to consolidate. You've got all these bad guys. Make them one guy." And it'll be satisfying at the end that everything comes together, like the end of a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, it was.
It was not for me.
Yeah.
It was not for me. I understand that it was for you. I respect that it was for you.
I don't respect that it wasn't for you.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, just too much.
Yeah. I liked it. It was like, ah!
I also did not like that the reason that Abigail, Madeline's daughter, takes down her website where she was trying to sell her I'm selling my sensuality.
I thought you said sexual. I mean, it's both good.
I almost said both. Everybody go to eBay and search for Williams sensuality. I will be selling whatever that is. Bidding starts at 2 cents.
You're going to overpay.
But I there was an anonymous, or not an anonymous person. There was a comment posted on the website.
Yeah.
From an old man.
I mean,
who appreciates what she's doing, but boy, he just hopes that she doesn't do this. I'll gladly donate $5 zillion if you take this down today. And they're like, and then this was just baffling. Madeline and her husband Ed are like, wow, this is great. And they're like, okay, so what do we do? Like, we've been so angry at her for doing this. She refused to take down the website, but now the website's coming down, and she kind of succeeded. She's kind of raising money for this charity, or I forget what it was for.
Amnesty International.
International. And they're like, okay, so she actually accomplished something, so we're happy with her? Like, they don't really know what to do. And
I don't remember that they do.
I thought they did. Maybe. I'm
Maybe.
wrong. And then, oh no, that was about, she had told Celeste about the website, and she was like, you got to be kind of proud of her, right? For this 14-year-old girl trying to sell her virginity on the internet to raise money for Amnesty International.
I don't remember that either.
It was brought up that it's like, oh, it's actually kind of ballsy. It's actually kind of...
I feel like Madeline thought it or something. She was like, I get her point.
Yeah,
but,
something like that. So they're like, wow.
Oh yeah, I think Madeline talking to Abigail is like, I get your point. It's great that you're trying to do something good, but yeah.
And then they're like, wow, it's great. This like Deus Ex Machina old man from America is going to donate zillions of dollars. And they're like, wait a minute, something seems fishy. And then they like talk to Celeste and they're like, we know it was you. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's just like, it is like the end of an episode of Seinfeld. Now that I'm like, everything's coming together. Like,
yeah.
That
doesn't feel like an everything's coming together moment for me, really. That's just like a thing.
I think it is.
I don't think of it, and I don't.
Why wouldn't Celeste?
I don't feel one way or the other about it.
Here's the problem I have with that. To what benefit is it for Celeste to not tell Madeline that she did it? I know that they want to keep it a secret from Abigail, so she'll feel like she accomplished something in this old American man.
So there's not like a weird power imbalance. She donated like a shit ton of money.
Yeah, but she spends that shit all the time.
I know. She I don't know. I guess it's just weird. She doesn't want to feel like, because Celeste is like so nice. She doesn't want Madeline to feel like she like has one over on her.
Yeah, but no one says. My problem is cute things start to happen. Cute meaning convenient.
Right?
Convenient things start to happen without, to me, any logical explanation. That like if there was a thing of like Celeste being like, well, I had to. What else was I going to do? I wasn't going to let her go through with it. Or like she's my kid too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like one of those moments between parents where it's like, she may be your daughter, but hey, she's my kid too. I could have gone with it.
I think she does say something like that.
I don't think she does.
Not like that.
I kind of don't think it's ever actually confirmed or denied.
No, it is.
Is it?
Yeah. No, they talk about it.
No,
like
Ed drunkenly goes, "Hey Perry, I heard you donated $5 million to my daughter's crazy website," and Perry's like, "Oh, I did I?"
Yeah.
Looks at his, but like,
no. Madeline and Celeste talk about it. Like, not for a long time, but Celeste is just like kind of like, well, she kind of like, She doesn't have the whole like, hey, she's my kid too, but she cops to it.
I don't know. I'm not annoyed by it. I feel like sometimes I sound
like you
like
are.
Sometimes I sound more annoyed than I really am.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're definitely annoyed by it.
I'm
though.
fine. No, I just don't like it.
So what?
There are things
how do you feel about things you don't like? Do they annoy you?
No, that's not true. There are some things that I dislike without being like, ugh.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
And this, I'm just like, kind of like, well, I would rather these things not be so
pretty fired
tied up
is
with a
all I'm
bow.
saying.
It feels like there's one small town in Australia, and everything that happens in that town
It's a peninsula.
is the direct result of someone else in that town.
That's part of the thing, William. They're on an island. It's like an isolated thing. That's the thing about island towns.
You can get off islands.
It's a peninsula.
I don't know.
I said island. But no, that's part of the charm of having it on a peninsula is that it's supposed to be like, this is an entire ecosystem of its own.
Okay.
They all go to the same hairdresser. They all go to the same coffee guy. It's its own little thing. That's the point.
I agree. And if this were something like, bad example, Twin Peaks, where it's like about this community, got it.
Right.
But I felt like this happened to take place in this community. I didn't feel like everything that...
Oh, I disagree.
I feel like this was supposed
Purely
to be...
Peninsula
Here is...
the fifth character or whatever.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I feel like this was supposed to be... It's taking place here. But these events are taking place all over the globe.
I don't know.
Versions of this happen everywhere, I think, until it's like... And then we have the town rapist who has affected everyone's lives negatively.
I get it.
You know?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's really my only problem. Otherwise, the things that like I want to praise, and this is a dumb thing, but I did think about this. I've been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto 5. That game,
a lot of parallels, or
well, one parallel.
Yeah.
That game. There are 3 protagonists, and it's literally you're playing as one of them, and then you can hit a couple buttons, and you're playing as the next one. Playing as you hit a couple buttons, you're playing as the third one.
Yeah,
and their stories interlock.
Yeah, like you see the other one within. Yeah,
but for the most part, they do have somewhat their own separate storylines. And I felt like the longer that I was reading this, and we'd start a new chapter, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm playing as Celeste right now. Oh, okay, I'm playing as Madeline right now. Oh, I'm playing as Jane. It felt like, okay, toggle back and forth between these 3, and we're going to see, like, okay, now we're playing as Celeste, and we're talking to Madeline. That's kind of cool. And then we are now switched to Jane, and she's pulling up to where Celeste and Madeline are.
Yeah.
And it felt very... It was entertaining. It was interesting to jump into everybody's shoes and see some of the same events from different perspectives.
Yeah,
I like
totally.
that.
And I also felt like all of their stories were even though like they were saying the Madeline one is like less loaded, it was still fun to read or like compelling.
Agreed.
So there would sometimes be a cliffhanger of one of their stories, and then it didn't feel like, oh God, I'm going away from that. Like you kind of would when you heard the chapter break, but then as soon as the next one started with the next one story, you like got right into that.
Yeah, you're like, I'll be back.
Yeah.
I'll be back to this. And I was at the beginning of the book, I was not interested. By midway, I was riveted.
Yeah.
And by the end, I was just satisfied. I just thought it was really entertaining.
Yeah.
Something that I had not thought of until we started recording this is that some of the book is about assumptions or having a limited viewpoint of another person. Almost all of the side characters outside of Jane, Madeline, and Celeste, there is some assumption that one of the women has made that we later find out is not true. And I think that is...
What are you thinking of?
I'll give you a few examples. Tom is the local like diner man. I was picturing Toothless Tom from Harry Potter until it became clear that he was supposed to be like kind of cute and flirty. Hey, I made you a cup of Joe.
I don't have a mental picture for him. I wonder who's playing him.
Jane goes to the diner a lot, and she's comforted by him a lot because, again, we didn't even really talk about this, but like a lot of the book is about how her son Ziggy is accused of bullying, and like there's a petition signed to get him kicked out of school. There's like dumb, really melodramatic stuff going on about this kid.
Yeah.
But Tom is very kind, but he's gay. And then at a certain point, Jane makes mention.
Is he?
She like goes to she like takes her clothes off in his home.
It was raining like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, do you want a change of clothes?" Because I think it's basically like he lives in the back of the coffee shop. Like maybe it's like I don't know what, but he has an apartment attached to it or something.
I bathe in the vats that I use to make the soup.
That's why the coffee's so good, because I bathe in the soup vats. Anyway,
that's why the coffee's so good, because I don't touch that. That's why everything else sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like, "Oh, I have clean clothes if you want." And she was like, "Oh, sure." And then she she changes with the door open and shit. Yeah.
And then she says something about like,
just because they're talking, not because she's weird.
She's like, I probably wouldn't do that, but you're gay. And he goes, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
And then they eventually fall in love.
Well, also, at first it was that she misunderstood something that Madeline said. Madeline was talking about a different Tom. It was like Tom the plumber or something, and she does his receipts.
I bathe in the toilets.
And she said that his paperwork and receipts always smell so good. And she was like, "Oh, huh." And but then somebody at the trivia night is like, "Wait, Tom's not gay or something like that." So I guess
a lot of people thought that.
Yeah.
And then the mother of the girl who's getting bullied in school, everyone's like, "Oh, she's such a fucking bitch."
Yeah.
She like yelled in Ziggy's face. And some of that stuff is still indefensible knowing what we know. But by the end of the book, where Perry hits Celeste in front of everybody else, she, the mother of the girl that was bullied, was like, "What the fuck? Like, fuck, you don't do that."
Yeah.
And then when she finds out that it wasn't Ziggy who was the bully, she I felt really made an effort to apologize and turned out to be somewhat kind. Maybe they're not all going to be friends.
Well, she and Madeline are kind of friends. They she says that throughout the book. She's like, I like Renata, but I just don't know what the hell she's doing. I know. So they are. She's not a clear-cut villain, even from the jump, because you know that Madeline.
Right.
They are friendly, but she's just going over the top.
Yeah, but Madeline's also
kind of
a
a
bit of
frenemy
a tough cookie.
Yeah, she is. They have a frenemy situation. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And then there's also Bonnie, the wife of Nathan.
Yes.
Who is Madeline's ex-husband. He had walked out on her. And so, understandably, Madeline views her ex-husband's wife, Bonnie, as just kind of being like...
She's complicit in what he did to her.
Yes, exactly.
She's part of it.
And she's kind of quiet and doesn't really contribute and just seems to just kind of be there and is kind of condescending just by existing.
She's super duper into yoga. She's kind of a hippie, and
she's
Madeline's
perfect.
just kind of ugh.
She's just perfect.
Yeah.
And by the
she's
end,
bohemian and cool, and Madeline's ugh.
And it's shocking that she, Bonnie, is the person that commits what we're calling the murder. That she is the person who the events of this book are leading up to is given to this, what I would call a side character, until we, meaning all of us and Madeline especially, learn, fuck, you know what? She's also kind of complicated.
Yeah.
She had an abusive father. And so she really had a reaction to seeing Perry hit Celeste.
And then Nathan and Madeline, when they're leveling with each other, in the end, where she's kind of well, I have to accept that Nathan's always going to be my family because he's Abigail's father or whatever. He says something about how it's, a work in progress or something. And she's like, so their marriage is more complicated than I thought. Yeah. She's not just the perfect, fun, bohemian, interesting woman. They have a complicated relationship.
Yeah. A lot of this.
It's not that, we had a shitty one, then they have this amazing one.
Exactly. A lot of this book is about false assumptions or managing expectations. People aren't who they seem to be all the time at just a glance. And we can just kind of put people in these little boxes, and then someday maybe they'll surprise us. I feel like that's a constant thread in the book that I don't know how to really work into a theory of anything other than it's there and it's interesting.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
So some things I know about the series that are coming out. Renata's role is expanded.
Makes sense.
There's more of Renata in the series than there was in the book. They made some changes to Madeline's character that they didn't want to talk about yet, but that Reese Witherspoon really wanted, because she said that in the book she didn't seem I'm paraphrasing obviously, but she wanted her to have some more complications and issues. Basically,
I bet she's going to be more of an alcoholic.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that would make sense.
They touch on that a little bit, that she likes to drink and she's got a bit of a temper.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
She does have a temper. What else do I know about it? I was about to say something short. Oh, it takes place in California rather than in Australia.
That's disappointing. I thought with Nicole
said
Kidman,
they thought it was that it was important, which I didn't understand why. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
And yeah, but Nicole Kidman went to Australia. She was going to be there anyway for something, I guess. Because she and Reese Witherspoon are like producers on it.
Yeah.
And they really wanted this book. So Nicole Kidman went to Australia to meet with Liane Moriarty and like talk to her and try to talk her into it, basically, and then got to. It sounds like from the thing that I read an article on Variety, so it was very like, I was starting to get bored with it a little bit. It was very industry-y. Like it was talking about like a lot of like
how it's coming together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to read more about like the plot and everything, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, I remember what website I was on. But it was actually interesting anyway. They just seemed like they were really, really invested in it. Nicole Kidman plays Celeste. And oh god, what else was interesting from it? I guess that's kind of it. It sounds like it's going to be really good, though. It sounded like the people who are on board are really talented people. Yeah. They were saying that it's probably going to be kind of like award bait, which is probably true.
Right.
And that originally it was going to be 8 episodes, but they decided to make it 7 instead because they felt like they could tell the story in that amount and not like push it further.
All right, that's actually
totally
really encouraging.
Same, yeah, I felt the same way, and that HBO was totally like fine with it, and
cool.
it was kind of interesting to read the industry stuff a little bit. Like I don't even know how it really works, but I guess they got the rights, and then they like put together some sort of package. They were showing it to different places that it could go, like Netflix, this place, whatever.
Yeah, they produced
HBO.
it. They probably like produced it with a company, but they're trying to get a distributor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is it. Yeah. And also they were just talking about, which I thought was interesting. It was an interview mainly with Nicole Kidman and the director of it, who was the director of Wild and Dallas Buyers Club, and they were talking about how like movies, TV, Netflix, real TV, whatever, it really doesn't matter anymore. She's like, content is content. I really don't care where it goes, but you know, that like, and people feel that way now too. So there's money to make these things everywhere. So like, I really don't care. Because I guess they were saying like it was her first thing into TV, and she was like, what's the difference, really?
No one even knows what they're watching.
Apparently they did talk about it as a movie, but they wanted to be able to like flesh it out and do.
I think it deserves.
Yeah, so
like
she
a
said that it's like
miniseries,
a movie, basically.
Yeah, well, cool.
And she said that the second to last episode is better than most movies she's done.
Oh, that's interesting.
She's optioning a lot of books. She's done some interesting stuff. So I hadn't realized she was really instrumental in getting Wild made, which I haven't seen, but I want to. And I also have not read the book, but want to. She also got the options for In a Dark, Dark Wood, which I want to read. I know I already read it, but that is by the same woman who wrote The Woman in Cabin 10.
Okay.
This, maybe one other mystery book, but she seems very involved in the production side of things.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Like
and it seems like she has like a good eye.
I like it when people are particularly motivated. I mean, everybody's motivated. No one's. There's few people that are just like, I want a paycheck.
But I guess also it seems like she has interests and then she's acting on them.
Cool.
You know, because it's all kind of mystery stuff. Maybe it's what she likes.
Yeah.
Well, not Wild, but
Yeah.
she seems like she's a good curator of things.
Well, I feel like we've talked
because
about.
I really liked In a Dark, Dark Wood, so I'm stoked for that. I hope she's in that.
Yeah. We've talked about before how like movies and shows tend to sometimes just be another opportunity at a new draft of that story.
This seemed totally like that was what they did with the show. Mm-hmm.
I think that's by and large what you always do when you're adapting something. You're technically writing a new draft, even if you're trying to stay super faithful. Mm-hmm. I feel like they've got a fucking great starting point with this.
Totally.
And yeah, there are just a couple of things that I feel like if they really want us to be thinking about what's going to happen at the end of this thing, I feel like there are a couple of things to tighten up on the way to the ending that could really make this like amazing.
Yeah.
I think this was really fun, entertaining.
Yeah.
I think this was really entertaining, really interesting.
It is fun though, actually. Like with not the scary abusive stuff, but I find it kind of like the things that aren't that are kind of light and fun.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I agree. I'll upgrade
it was fun
back
to listen to. I never like went to listen to it and was like, okay, I got to get through this. Like, I
not
really
at all.
enjoy it.
Not at all. Yeah, I feel like those parts are very distinctly there, and they deserve like conversation and everything. But yeah, it is a really fun book.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like that's the point. It's both. Everything is both.
Yeah. It's true. Everything is both.
But I think that this could be really interesting.
I think it's going to be really good. And it looks good.
Yeah.
I wonder how distracted I'm going to be by Nicole Kidman's wig. So that's a concern for me. But
Why?
She always wears a wig, which I understand because then you don't have to sit in the like the makeup chair getting your hair done all the time because then it's always right for every take. But she wears a wig in everything. She's wearing a wig in this, and I find it distracting.
She wear a wig in... That was Kim Basinger. Never mind.
What were you thinking?
Batman. Was she Batman Forever?
Wait, Nicole Kidman? Yes. She was Chase Meridian. Dr. Chase Meridian.
That's right.
I don't know if the wig thing's a little bit of a more recent phenomenon. I don't think she was wearing a wig.
She's just had enough of it.
Yeah. I understand her point, but like, take it as part of the job. I really find wigs distracting, and not even as a hairdresser. I think you can clock them. Like,
I don't know that I always can.
Not always, but there's some times where I'm like, is that a wig? Is it? But there's usually an issue with the part that you can tell. It's just.
Did I ever
take a nap in the chair?
I feel like we talked about this before, but I just thought of it again recently. Have you considered at all? I think this would be like a really cool thing to do, just like as an experiment. This has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
But you to become a hairstylist, you had to use those like mannequin heads to style hair on and try out different techniques. Did we ever talk about? I think we did. How it'd be cool if you had some of those dummy heads.
That looks like me.
Wow, that would be an awesome picture, actually. That'd be like a really alarming picture. Like a Brady Bunch with a bunch of dummy heads, and you're one of them.
Well, when I wrote...
Not in the middle. That'd be too obvious. The eye goes right there. You have to be like off to the bottom left.
I did a thing kind of like that when I wrote articles about hair freelance for Exojane before it was like a really weird website. But
oh, is it?
It's done now.
Oh, is it gone?
It's a whole thing. It turned into like a shit show that I'm embarrassed to like cite as something that I've written for.
Oh.
Because it has a terrible reputation.
Repost your articles on your personal website.
I'm going to. Because they're going to destroy the site in a year. It's going to stay up on the existing site for now for a year.
Oh, okay.
I found that it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
I
steal
that
those things back. Don't let them get gone.
I'm still friends with my editor from Exojane, so I found it through her through her Facebook. Like, it's shitty that they didn't like send out an email to people who wrote things for her to be like, just so you know, your content's going to disappear.
Yeah,
like,
your writing's about to be gone.
It's just by chance that I still talked to Emily, whatever. Anyway, but for one of the things I did, you had to take a picture of yourself for it. So it was me between two mannequin heads. Like,
I remember that.
Like a mannequin.
I kind of remember that.
But anyway, what were you going to say?
I was going to say it'd be really cool to see, almost as like an art piece, you style mannequin heads, both like in makeup on the face and in the hair, to be iconic.
Oh man!
Either performers, actors, musicians, people that are like have a distinct quirk or a distinct look, recreate that. And what I was thinking more specifically wouldn't make sense, and I don't think you can do, but like, because it's me, I was thinking like horror people, horror. Like maybe like the famous last girls from slashers style their heads.
That is awesome.
People would love that. I would love to see it, but I can't do that.
I can't do that.
So I need you to make that.
Those are two skills I lack. I don't do like hairstyling updos, and I don't do makeup, so I wouldn't be able to do that.
What's an updo?
Anything basically where you invite a pin into the equation, Chrissy's out.
Huh.
So curls, waves, smooth blowout, volume, all that stuff fine, but I don't do any an updo is anything with your hair up.
Huh. Nothing with a pin?
Even partially up. Nothing with a pin. That's literally what I say, because sometimes people will be like, whatever, it's the whole thing, but they'll be like, oh, but can't you just do this little thing? I'm like, when a pin comes in, I'm out, so no.
Huh. Better not take you bowling.
Oh, God.
That's a joke. You can use that.
I disagree.
You can keep that. You can have that.
Take
Dumb.
that to the bank. Cash it in.
A couple of dumb last thoughts. Thinking about how a bunch of people were ready to cover up for Bonnie having killed Perry. I was thinking that's very distinct. I'm not going to say what it is, just because some people don't know everything.
Okay.
Mystery trope that it's like, oh, we technically all killed him, and we're all now going to keep this secret.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, if that was how the book had ended, with everybody keeping the secret, if we did flash forward a year, what is the name of the place? What peninsula? Pirwi Peninsula would now be a very like Twin Peaksy place, where it's like there is a cultural secret, there's a town secret.
Yeah, totally.
And somebody new would move to town, and like they'd be like, "Why is everyone so suspicious?"
Yeah, totally.
And then they'd find out there's like a town secret. So I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about how this could almost function as the origin story for like slasher character, where it's like, Perry was killed 1 year ago today. It's a shame they never found the body. It's like, well, no, you don't think that he'd come after us, would you? And be like, what do you mean? We were all complicit in his murder.
That sounds great.
And then they start getting picked off one by one. This
I would completely read that or watch that.
I mean, this has been made many times.
I know I know what you did last summer, but still,
yeah, it played very much to me.
I know what you did last summer.
We all killed Fred Krueger, and now he's back. Very much.
Did they all kill Fred Krueger?
Yeah.
Do they call him Fred, not Freddy?
Yes.
Really? Yes. Huh. Do they totally? Is that one of those weird movie things where for some reason we've all started calling him Freddy Krueger, but they only reference him as Fred Krueger?
No, they in the movies they call him Freddy Krueger constantly.
Yeah, but they also
when they get into like the conspiracy of his death,
right?
Which there is one. There's a town conspiracy of how he died,
right?
They're like, no, Fred Krueger was just this hermit who lived.
I can hear the grown-ups saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, but it felt very much like that, where they'd just be like, oh, by the way, name is Perry White.
Yeah.
Great Caesar's Ghost.
Yeah, I know.
Why would you use that name?
I don't know.
Lois Lane, you've got a 2:00 deadline. I want pictures of Superman.
Maybe she just didn't realize.
Maybe.
Just straight up didn't realize.
Real weird.
I know.
Perry White.
That's an obscure reference from Superman, though.
But if you know it, you're going to think about it.
That's like, it's a beautiful name, so I'm glad that she did. But my friend...
Uncle Ben.
Well, but Uncle Ben is even weird because there's Uncle Ben's rice.
That's why I said it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying if they named a character Uncle Ben.
No.
Anyway, my friend Katie's sister had a baby named Hazel Grace, which is the name of the main character from The Fault in Our Stars. And she had the baby like the same year that came out. So when Katie told me, I was like, oh, like The Fault in Our Stars. And she was like, no, I don't think Dee Dee knows that. And I was like, oh, well.
Huh, right. Well, that's obscure enough.
That's what I'm saying. Perry White is also obscure. That's my point.
Right. Yeah. Well, my friend named his kid Doug Funny.
Obscure enough, but the people who know are really going to know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Anyway, I go out there and now read Big Little Lies. Now it's
and
been
then get ready to
watch the show.
Watch it. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. That was good.
Yeah, totally.
It was a good book.
So next time, where are we moving into, Will?
Oh, Kristen, well, there's a vacancy, you see. There's a vacancy in this big old mansion that, hey, maybe you've heard of it. The Bates Motel. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into Psycho House. Robert Bloch wrote a third book in the Norman Bates series, although I don't even know if we can technically call it. There's a reason there's a reason this is now called Psycho House, and we're not talking about a person who's a psycho. It's the house that's gone psycho.
Right.
I'm very excited for this.
Me too.
This is maybe going to be the third time that we're playing with fire with old Robert Bloch. No, Psycho was great, right?
Psycho
the book was great.
Awesome.
Psycho 2 was a letdown.
Yes.
It was said to be about Norman Bates going to Hollywood where they're making a movie based about his murders. That felt like it had to be campy, over-the-top fun.
And it was just a steaming pile.
Yes. But now I'm thinking the same thing about this book, which has me a bit worried. However, we've got to read this. It's been a year.
I'm in.
It's been a year since we read any Psycho books. We tend to do these in Februarys, which is weird.
Was it February?
It was February in 2013.
Feeling romantic?
It's February 2013 that we read Psycho. February 2015 or 16 that we read Psycho 2. And now February 2017, we're reading Psycho House, the third book in the series.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I read this summary?
Please
Just
do.
to whet everybody's appetite?
Absolutely.
The new Bates Motel is a tourist attraction, complete with robotic, knife-wielding figures of Norman Bates and his infamous mother. But someone adds a new exhibit a few days before the official opening. A teenage girl is stabbed to death in the front hall.
Wait, they leave that as an exhibit?
I've installed a new exhibit. I've killed this person. This is the first new Psycho novel in 10 years that returns to the Bates Motel, that infamous inn that has terrified generations of American moviegoers and readers. Bloch is a recipient of the Hugo Award.
So wait, have there been Psycho novels in the interim of 10 years that didn't return to the Bates Motel? Because that seems like a weird distinction to make.
That's a very interesting question, because you're right. That does seem like they are trying to dodge... They're like speaking in legalese to make sure that they're not mentioning the other Psycho novels.
Right.
Yeah, I don't... that's a very, very interesting question. I wonder if I can answer that quickly without having to edit anything. It seems like the answer is a no.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it next time. Okay, so everybody, we're going to be reading Psycho House.
Yes.
Now, this is available on Audible.
It's also available on Hoopla.
That's right. So if you get that library service,
Yep.
just go to the Highland Park, New Jersey
At least on
library,
the,
talk
audio
to somebody
thing.
unhelpful, call Highland Park, Illinois on the phone, or Indiana.
Yeah.
They're
It's
super
Illinois.
helpful, but they can't do anything for you. Call the Highland Park Library again. Get the least helpful person you can who's super suspicious. Do not give them your name. And then just order a book from Amazon.
Yes, correct.
Which is what I'll be doing. This is one of
Yeah.
those books that like I want to get, just like Psycho 2 was, I want to get a copy that somebody's written in.
I totally get it. Yeah, you can only get it used on Amazon, which was the same case for Psycho 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I won't be going Audible on this.
Or no, you can get it legit, but it's like $35.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not spending that much. I'm spending $5
Totally.
on a used book, and I hope that somebody's been underlining the word blood.
Yeah.
Or, mother is like circled a million times. Maybe they circled it so much they ripped it out of the middle of a page.
So we'll still have the Amazon link to the book on our website.
Yes.
But look in the used category.
Exactly. I mean, maybe that'll even work, though, for the Audible copy. Who knows? So
Yeah.
go to talkbomb.com/schmook to find a link for Psycho House.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys are willing to read along for this one. I could not be more excited. This is the kind of schlocky,
Yeah.
nonsensy, whatever-y kind of thing. I'm
Totally.
pumped.
It's
So
going to be fun.
come back for that in 2 weeks. We're going to
Yep.
be reading that on February 24th.
Yep, 24th.
And that means that next week is going to be an off week episode, so come have fun for that. But if you guys have any thoughts about this book, Big Little Lies, things that we left out, things we didn't even touch on, there's a lot going on in this book.
Yeah, totally.
You can talk to us about all of that stuff on Twitter.
I'm at Chillin' Kristen on Twitter and Instagram.
That's right. I'll start
Yeah.
saying Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm at Will Rogers 2000 on everything.
Yeah.
I'm also at Haunted Sponge on everything.
Yeah,
where
Will does a lot of sweet stuff under Haunted Sponge.
I post exclusively horror stuff.
Yeah,
The Will Rogers
it's awesome.
stuff I do is just me, and so
Just being me.
just me being me. But
Yeah.
I focus all horror stuff to Haunted Sponge.
Yeah, totally.
Follow Talk Bomb to get all the updates about everything that we produce. And if you want to talk about things that, I mean, you can always talk about whatever you want on all that other stuff. But if you want to get real off topic with us, join up to the Book Club Shmook Club Facebook group. Request to join if you're not already a member.
yeah, and
jump in.
you also get recommendations from other people who aren't us in there.
Yeah.
It's like it's a nice thing.
Absolutely. Consider leaving a review, share with your friends, tell everybody you know, because this is a goddamn good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And so we'll see you next time. But
Yes.
until then, good talk, gang.
Meeting adjourned. Hot talk.
Meeting adjourned.
I like the nightlife, baby. Do 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 do. Let's go. Do 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 do. That's a song.
I don't know that song. What up?
What up, pizza bro?
Just call me awesome. All right, say something about fruit cocktail.
Ew.
What if? Okay, I know you have a thing about fruit. What if it was freshly made
No.
in front? Really?
No, I don't want fruit all mixed together.
What about like a side of fruit at a diner?
Fuck no. Who knows how long that's been cut for?
You know what I never liked, and I think that it's just a filler.
What?
Melon and honeydew.
No, I don't like them.
I'm thinking it is cheap to get your hands on a melon.
Probably.
Because
I think, and
if
it's
you
big.
ever
It's probably
order,
like $1, and then it's huge, so you can make like a million sides with
yes,
it.
if you ever order a side of fruit or anything, it's
Yeah.
all honeydew.
It is. It's tons of melon. I don't like it.
I don't want it.
It's too mushy.
I'll have a side of fruit. Oh, hold
That's
on.
insane to me.
Hold the honeydew and the melon.
There's no way.
And then the
It'd
waitress,
just be a bowl of grapes.
the waitress just sends you the stink eye because they know that you caught them.
Because it's usually just melon and grapes in a fruit bowl at a diner.
It'd be funny to not order a bowl of fruit, but order melon and grapes. I'll have the melon. I'll have the melon and grapes,
I
please.
don't like fruit. Fruit's gross.
Hey, I'll have the melon and grapes with a side of scrambled eggs. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's all. I can't believe that's a side.
Reversey. Hey guys, do you like Talk Bomb? We could really use your support. Please go to patreon.com/talkbomb where you can donate to us monthly. In doing so, you will get for yourself a bunch of bonus shows just as a thank you.
You can also find us on all social media accounts under the username TalkBomb. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Following us online is a great way for you to stay up to date on what we're working on for TalkBomb.
One of the best things you can do for our network is to review this show on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever platform you listen to us on. Positive reviews help us grow and help new listeners find us.
But more than anything, thank you for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you at talkbomb.com.